Good morning, YouTubers. Today is April the 7th, 2024, and I'm at the place to be, the place I've been on Sundays, on the 9th, which is Tuesday, 6 years. For 6 years straight, I've been working for this particular dealership, which is a BMW dealership, on Sunday for 6 years. And if I had to guess, I'd say I've been on Saturdays almost 5 years, and Friday about 5 years. The reason why I diced it up or was on those that Friday and that Saturday shorter than I've been on the Sunday is because I was hired. I was hired full-time here, but at the time I had a full-time job working for Burien Honda, which is in Burien, Washington. Burien is just one of the cities outside the city of Seattle. If I had to guess, I would say from where I'm at now, I could be in Burien about 7 minutes, no more than 10. It depends on what route I take. Now, it's others that might know the city better than me. Maybe they could get to Burien in under 10 minutes, say under 7 minutes. It's possible, but I don't know Seattle like that, right? So I would say 7 to 10 minutes from where I'm at now to where I live in Burien. I also live in Burien. Okay, I end up in Burien because I was working for Burien Toyota, but I was living in Kent. Kent is another city outside Seattle, which is another city, right? So I was living in Kent, working at Burien Toyota, and I got tired of the commute. So when in 2010, I started doing work for Burien Nissan. So Burien Nissan wanted to hire me full time because I still was running my business, EJ's Automotive Detailing business, for I was running it part-time basically, right? So I started doing Burien Nissan cars. At the time, the Nissan dealership was actually called Car Pros Burien Nissan. When Car Pros Burien Nissan service manager and service director offered me a job, they asked me to they told me I didn't have to give my answer right away because they knew I was used to being independent, working for myself. So they told me to think about it a little bit, and the job was going to come with a certain amount of money an hour, flat rate hours, right along with full benefits after 60 days. So that's how I ended up in Burien, because I was already working in the city of Burien at the Toyota dealership. Then I left the Toyota dealership. Then I started running EJ's Automotive Detailing business part-time in Burien. Matter of fact, everything in Burien at the time before I came to downtown Seattle was in the location that I'm present living in, right? So today's topic is I'm gonna go over procedure, and since I've been in the business since 1980s, forcing a professional, and I started buffing out cars in 1979 though, but when I actually started at the dealerships and several salons, I wasn't hired as a full detailer. I was hired as a prepper and an interior man. Okay, I done worked at a lot of salons and I done worked at a lot of dealerships. I can't recall not one dealership that I worked in Alabama, which was only one. When I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, I probably worked at 5 different dealerships and several salons. And I can't think of not one of these places between the salons and the automotive dealerships that I worked at, from Mobile, Alabama to the state of Georgia, had more than enough room to only do one car. Okay, when I say one car, I'm in the wash bay of where I work now, and I'm gonna step to the side and let y'all get an idea on what I'm talking about when I say wash bay. This is the area we prep the cars at. You got the pressure washer right here. You got brushes over here. You got some chemicals here. You got your soapy water right here, and then you got degreaser, windshield cleaner, window cleaner, interior cleaner, engine dressing, tire dressing, and soap, all coming out of this dispensary, right? Out of that machine right there. Now, we could pull 2 cars inside this wash bay at a time, but we only have one pressure washer with one wand, right? So to bring 2 cars in here, it is gonna be tight, but only one person, one automotive detailer could prep at one time. So what I'm saying is, none of the dealerships and salons I worked for in Alabama or Georgia had a setup to where you could prep more than one car at one time, because it only had one wand. Even if you pull 2 cars in here, you might could do some of the wet work, but you still gotta wait on the wand. And when you're using any kind of strong wheel acid, wheel cleaner, wheel acid or whatever, you don't want it to sit on the rim too long, especially on a lot of these newer cars, because you don't know, can they take acid? If so, how strong the acid need to be to start damaging the wheel, right? You don't want to leave acid on too long on a car that you're not sure about the rims. What I normally do, I spray, if I'm not sure about the rims on a car, I spray degreaser first on the rim and the tires. Then I spray the acid on top of the degreaser, and I rinse the wheel off, and I do one wheel at a time. Okay, back to what I'm getting around to is that when I first got into business, everything was done by procedure, right? For automotive detailing. The first thing a detailer would do, which they supposed to do, but a lot of them didn't do it, is do a visual inspection before you touch the car. A visual inspection consists of you walking around the car looking for noticeable dents and scratches, maybe the busted windshield. That way, if someone asks you about it after the fact, you could say it was already there. And need to be, you might need to let supervisor know, service manager, or lead man, whatever your next direct person in charge is, right? So, and with a lot of cars coming into detail salons and shops that's dirty, it's gonna be almost impossible to catch every nick, every ding, and every scratch on a car, because it's dirty, right? Sometimes when you wash a car, you see a lot more than what you saw before you wash the car, even if you do a vision inspection, right? Some things you're just not gonna catch if the car is dirty. All right, when I came out to Washington State, the first several dealerships I worked at was the same way. Hell, some of them wash bay wasn't even near this big. Not near this size, so you definitely couldn't get but one car in. When I was working for Dodge in Renton, Washington, which is another city outside Seattle. When I was working at Renton Dodge, their wash bay was like this. You could pour 2 cars in, but you got the same problem. We only had one pressure washer. So only one person could actually prep efficient enough. Okay. It was, and you know, it's easy to forget these things as you be in the business. Some of the things you forget permanent, and sometimes things will come back as you doing the job. This just recently came back to me because, like I said, when I started off at the dealership in 1980, everything was done by procedure. You pull the car in, after you get the visual inspection, you pull the car inside the wash bay. If need to be, you give it another visual inspection. You pull the hood. You want to, you can open up all the doors and you start prepping the car, right? And you stayed in the wash bay until you finish prepping the car. Now, if you had 3 other guys waiting to prep their cars and they couldn't come in because the wash bay facility was occupied by a detailer already, they just had to hang loose until their turn came, right? But back then, detailer was hourly. So it didn't matter if you was number 4 detailer in line to get in the wash bay to prep your car. You still getting paid, right? But that slowed down production to the point where if you got 4 to 6 guys all waiting to get in the wash bay, and the wash bay only allow you to prep 1 car at a time because you only got one wand, pressure washer wand, then if you got 6 guys, the average prep job is going to take about 30 minutes. So you do the math, if I'm not mistaken, that's about 3 hours. Now, it's times that a prep job could take 45 minutes to an hour. It depends on the color of the car, the color of the exterior, which is the body of the car, how dirty the car really is. And if you're an old school prep guy like me, and you prepping a white or silver or any kind of light exterior body vehicle, you're gonna try to do as much as you can in the prep area. Because if you prep the car right, including acid bath if it's needed, clay bar, if you prep that car right, that's gonna be less time you're gonna spend with your buffer buffing on the body of that car. White cars and silver cars and light color cars allow a detailer to be able to cut back some steps if he experienced enough to know what to do. First of all, you gotta know what he's looking at. Second, you gotta know what to do. Third, you gotta be able to do it, right? It's one thing to see it and think you know and you don't. It's another thing to be able to see it, know what you need to do it, and it happens. It works for you. All right. I was, and like I said, I done worked in Tacoma, Bellevue. These are cities I worked in since I've been in Washington State, which September will be 30 years. I done worked in Auburn 3 times. I done worked in the city of Renton 3 times. I done worked in the city of Tacoma 2 times. I done worked in North Seattle twice. I done worked in Ballard. I don't know if I said Bellevue, but if I didn't, I worked in Bellevue. I done worked at the BMW store in Seattle. Let me see. I done worked at dealerships in Kent, not counting all the salons. So I'm probably missing some things. Okay, let me go back. Berrien. I done worked with Berrien Nissan. Their wash bay area smaller than this. They didn't have a pressure washer. You had to use a regular water hose with a high pressure water nozzle. Berrien Nissan, Toyota, and Honda. All right. Honda. Berrien Honda, which is now Redden Honda, was the best facility I worked at for its prepping cars. Now, Dodge and Renton was all right too, because I almost forgot they had a outside wash bay area with a canopy over it. But it goes back to the same thing though. They had enough room for 4 cars, but they only had 1 pressure washer. So that still slowed you down. Redden Honda, aka Berrien Honda, was the first facility that I worked at that had enough room to prep 4 cars at one time. I'm talking about they had a reel right here with a wand on it. They had a wheel right here with a wand on it. They had a reel right here with a wand on it. They had a reel with a wand on it right there. 40 detailers could pull in their wash bay, their prep area, and prep 4 different cars. 3 of the pressure washers was set up to use cold water, and the 4th was set up to use hot water. Their hot water pressure washer got so damn hot, you could melt wiper blades. I've seen guys playing around with the wand, the hot pressure washer wand, and melt wiper blades. Melt molding, the rubber molding going around the windows, it got just that hot. They had to turn that pressure washer heat down because it was causing too much damage. That's the only facility that I've worked in since I've been in the automotive business ever since 1980 that allows you to prep 4 cars efficiently. Nobody had to wait on nobody, because if it was 4 guys, you had 2 here and you had 2 there. That was the idea. Here's the kicker. The building they had their own body shop for years. So this building was built like in 1940. So it wasn't a brand new damn building. And even the wash rack part of it, it was old. It wasn't built in 1940. If I had to guess, I would say the 70s and the 80s, but it had 4 different pressure washer wands. All right, but a wand that's not detail orientated, this is a wand, right? They had 4 of these, right? Meaning 4 guys, be it service, porters, be salesmen if they want to wrench a car off, or detailers. And they didn't get in each other's way. They had enough room to open up all 4 cars' doors and prep. I didn't know how much I missed that till I came here. Then when I came here, and I'm detailing against 6 other detailers, I'm the oldest detailer. I got some grandchildren older than some of the detailers that's working with me now. I got my oldest daughter is old enough to be some of the guys I'm working with now. Mother. So now that I'm older, I'm competing against guys that's younger than my children. Some younger than my grandchildren, my oldest grandchildren, right? So That was the best setup. Now, with people being, all the automotive detailers are flat rate, as far as I know, majority of them that's working. Let me put it like this. Let's just say majority of the automotive detailers that's working at a reputable dealership are flat rate, like the mechanics and the technicians, right? So now we cannot afford to wait our turn if it's 7 detailers and you got 1 in the wash bay. You don't watch out by the end of the day, because you're getting paid by what you do. By the end of the day, man, you might have made yourself 4 or 5 hours. You cannot follow the procedure like that no more. You cannot. It puts you in a predicament to where you got to get creative. You got to think out of the box. So while one guy's in over here prepping the car, the guys that's waiting, they pull out their mats. They clean their mats. They blow out their vehicle. They clean their vents. They get their car a good vacuum. Some of them will do the inside of their windows. If their door jambs ain't bad, they'll wipe their door jambs out. They'll clean their trunk out. If their seats need to be scrubbed, they'll scrub the seats. If the seats got stains, they're gonna take the steamer or carpet extractor with a spinner brush. Depends on what dealership, what kind of equipment detailing wise that a dealership has to offer. They're gonna use those items to be doing the inside of the car. And see, I did X7 last week. I think it was last Sunday. I started on it late Saturday, but I had ran it through the car wash, but I had to bring it over here to do the rims, do the fender wells, and give it another prep, a light prep, right? I took it a prep so good, I knew only thing I had to do was a stage 1 buff on it, right? So, because of that, I was able to wipe my door jambs out. I put some chemical on a microfiber and I wiped my door jambs out. Long gone, it's long gone for any detailer that got any kind of sense, that's getting paid flat rate, that's not at a high-end job, that might say, okay, we're gonna pay you $100 to clean that car from top to bottom or more. You know, that don't normally happen like that. It's not impossible, especially if you are mobile. If you mobile, you set up to do mobile, you could do a couple $100 or more on one full detail. But I'm talking about a dealership. I don't know no dealerships that's paying an automotive detailer $125 or more to clean a used car. Not even a customer car. I don't even make that here, and I've been here 6 years Wednesday. I should, but I don't. So now you put in a predicament that you can't afford to be waiting around on the guy to come out of the wash bay because you only got one woman. You got to be using your mind. You got to be doing other things to get your car and get as much of your car done. Because if you number 6 and you got one guy in there already, you got 4 more guys that's going to go in there. So if you're going to hang around and not do nothing, you're only going to get one car done a day and you're not going to make no money. Even if they paid you flat rate to do a used car, 75 or 100 customer pay. If you happy with 75 to $100 pay, that's on you. When I first came to Seattle, the first salon I worked at, they paid $24 an hour for one full detail. I'm talking about full detail. I'm talking about all the prepping, all the interior cleaning, all the buffing. $24 damn dollars. And a lot of times, I found myself spending between 4 to 6 hours on one car. I did the math. By the time I paid to get downtown Seattle, bus fare going home, and if I bought myself a lunch because I didn't take one, over 60% of my profit went back into trying to get to that job that day. After a couple of weeks, I saw I wasn't gonna make no money and I left. So yes, automotive detailing started off as a procedure. The procedure was you prep the car first, second you do all the interior work, third you buff the car out, the fourth you could either do the windows or do the tires, but either way the tires and the windows got to be done. It was done in that order. Prep, interior, buff, tires and windows, or windows and tires. That was the procedure. Things changed. You only got one pressure washer. You only got enough room for one, every now and then 2 cars, but with one pressure washer, you might as well just not have enough room, period. Things have changed. A lot of today's detailers, they learning all the new ways of doing things, and the old way they don't know nothing about it. Some of the people that train them might not even know what I just said. It depends on how long they've been in the game. I've been in the game 45 years. And I know how I started. I started in Alabama. I moved from Alabama to Georgia. And I've been in Washington State 30 years. When I add the time that I lived in Alabama for 22, and then I was in Georgia for 12, that's 34 years in the South. 34 years in the South. If I stay out here another 5 years, I've been lived in Washington State longer than any place I live, even in my hometown. Okay, I need to get ready to wrap it up. I just wanted to talk to y'all about procedure. I wanted y'all to see how the wash bay look. I wanted to let y'all know at one time, and it's only one time, that I worked at a place where 4 guys could prep a car at one time. 4 guys, right? It ain't no more days like that. The buildings that I know that allowed you to do 2 or 3, most of them got tore down and remodeled. Before I go, I'm gonna tell you why I wanted to do the procedure, because I watch how guys waiting to get in the wash bay at dealerships I work, so they doing stuff that's not part of the procedure steps, and I understand why, but I don't know if they understand at one time they couldn't do that because that wasn't proper procedure. I worked for a guy, he was the first guy, matter of fact, he was the guy that brought me out to building. He had a shop that hold 14 cars inside, and his bullpen had a 12-foot barbed wire fence, and it could hold 100 cars. And every time, the deal was, I give him $400 a month. This was back in '96. I give him $400 a month, or I do 4 used car detail for him, because he was a big-time wholesaler. He'll buy cars from the auction, they need to be detailed, and he got tired of the auction details because they was going through them. They were blowing through them to get them in and out. They did high volume. They didn't really care nothing about quality of work like that. So he brought me in, and he gave me the choice, $400 a month or 4 used car detail, cars that belong to him. As much as possible, I did the 4 cars, but he got to the point where he was older than me. Right now, the guy's 83. So he fell under the time it was, automotive detail was done by procedure. And every time I didn't follow procedure, he would come out of his office because he had a big picture window. And the way the big picture window was set up, he had his desk across from the picture window. So he could look straight out in the area where I was detailing at and see exactly what I do. Every time I did something that wasn't part of procedure, he'll stop what he's doing, come over there where I'm at and say, you just lost me, you didn't do it in the procedure that's supposed to be done. right? I had a hard time getting this guy to understand. At that time, I had been doing it maybe 30 years, performing automotive detailing for 30 years. And it was hard for me to get him to understand that sometimes to keep from getting burned out or bored, you got to mix it up a little bit. He didn't want to buy that. So as much as possible when he was there, I did it in procedure. One time he saw me using a foam cutting pad. He came out of his office. Said, "What are you using?" I said, "A foam cutting pad." He said, "Let me see it." I let him see it. He felt it. He said, "It's real coarse." I said, "Yeah." He said, "How it work?" I said, "It worked like the wool pad. Take the scratches out." He said, "If the scratches will come out, they'll lighten the scratches." He said, "Give me a demonstration." I showed him what the foam cutting pad would do on one scratch, and I showed him the wool pad, which he already knew the wool pad because he used to be an automotive detailer. He told me he wasn't a good automotive detailer, but he knew how to automotive detail. You know, he would always say I was so much better than him. I told him time changed. People like me that came after him needed to up the game up. They had to learn more, right? So he looked at them and he say, "They look almost close for us taking the scratch out or fading the scratch where it's not that noticeable." He said, "What you think?" I said, "The foam pad, cutting pad, I like it." I said, "But it get hot real fast." I said, "In some cases, you have to mist the car with a spray bottle, right? With a little water. Put it on a mist, and you spray it over the area you bumping. And some of the chemicals back then was only activated if you spray. Now that ain't a mist, that's too much. Okay, that's close. See that mist there? You have to mist the hood. You have to mist the hood, put the chemical on, and work it in. I told him other than that, the foam cutting pad was all right. He had me which one I like the best. I told him I like the wool pad because that's how I learned how to bump, using the wool pad. He said, "I like the wool pad too. And I refer you not to use the foam cutting pad on my car." He made it so difficult for me to do a full detail on his car. I got to the point where I was paying him the $400 a month and let somebody else worry about detailing his car. Because of the way that I was trying to do it, he was still getting great results, but he was stuck on the old way. And doing it the old way was slowing me down, especially after I learned new ways to do things. But he's a great man. If anybody ever taught me how much I was worth, was him. When he brought me out to Burien and let me move in that shop with him, it was like a dream come true. I was warned not to merge my business with him, and he was gonna hold me back, try to control the business. Only thing he tried to control was how I detailed his cars. Other than that, he let me make my money. He gave me a key, an alarm code, and he told me, "I don't care, you can spend the night in here cleaning cars. Just if you leave, turn the alarm system on." Because I don't want the people that monitor the alarm system calling me and asking me why my alarm is not activated. So I just wanted to share that little bit of knowledge with y'all. So for all y'all guys that just getting started in the automotive detailing trade, it's money in it if you apply yourself right. First, you got to get good. While getting good, you get your name up, right? And I'm talking about the best way to learn. You learn the job. You learn how to do the job, and you learn how to do the job well, right? Once you learn the job and learn how to do the job well, then you'll automatically come up with ways to shorten things down to where you can get through faster. Only on the cars that allow you to get through fast. Some cars gonna take all you have to give it and more. So this is EJ. I'm gonna sign off. You have a nice day, and I'm about to get back to work. Peace.